Okay, so UVing the body is pretty much the same as the clothing. Obviously, there's some more complicated shapes going on there. But we'll start with the head, and then we'll do the body probably in a separate video because the head might take long enough. So just for the time being, I'm going to Control H, hide the clothing. And again, my UVs are going to look pretty crazy at this point, so I'll just do a quick planar map. Zero out my Y rotation and make sure these are the same value. So usually I go with the higher value just because for some reason that makes it a smaller object. I'm not really sure how that works, but so we'll just go with like 120 and 120. So he's all proportional. And then I'm going to make sure that I have texture border edges on, and we should see that because he's a pretty much airtight model with the exception of maybe the inside of his eyelids or his nose. Yeah, he's pretty much airtight. We shouldn't really see any thick lines. So I'm going to start by just cutting this up a little bit into different shapes. In some cases, what I'll do is like delete half of it, and I'm still going to do that. I'll probably just UV one leg and one arm, and then delete half, and then like kind of do things, rearrange things. But I want to start with the head, so we'll just start by cutting the head off. So I will select those edges and then do in my UV editor, and I'll do a polygon, cut UV edges, and see now we have that big thick line down there. And just for the time being, I'm going to take the body and move it off to the side. And let's just focus on the head for this video, and it'll probably take up enough time to where we'd have to do another video for the body. So let's zoom in here. What we have, so right away I know one complicated shape that I'm going to have is the ears, so I want to go ahead and cut the ears off. And again, I'm only going to UV one of the ears, and then I can duplicate, basically mirror it over. So let's start by cutting the ear off. You can try finding a discrete line or discrete edge loop for that. I think this one will work pretty good. And I'll go ahead and pick that same line for the other ear. Nope, need to go in one. And then go right click, polygons, cut UV edges, and then I'll grab some of the UVs on the ear, control right click to shell, and just drag those off over here. And let's just talk about the head for a second. So we have a similar problem here that we had with our shirt, where the back of the head is not projected correctly, basically. So the first thing I want to do here is cut off the back of the head. So I can do that by selecting the edges from where we cut it at the neck to the top of the ear there. And you want to make sure that you get it in the same spot on both sides. And we'll go cut UV edges. And then we'll just do all the way around the top, kind of following that same line all the way to the ears. And then polygons, cut UV edges. And now if I select a UV on, say, the face and go to shell, should be able to move one of those off. And this is something that you're going to have to, you're going to UV and you're going to see a lot of errors, and then you're going to want to go in and fix it a little bit. So there's going to be a lot of trial and error to this. But obviously I could start by flipping that so it's the correct orientation. And let me delete my history too. Again, I'm lagging a little bit. Could just be my computer. Might need to shut down some stuff. So I could go ahead and try just grabbing all of my UV edges here, and I could try doing an unfold. And again, to change my brush size, I'm just holding down B. So, and that kind of gives me, you got to be careful because it will kind of freak out on you. So that's not really giving me the result that I want. And I do see something that may be an issue, but it's not really giving me the result I want. So I think what I want to do is, let's see. First I could start by coming in here to the nose, because I know right off the bat that the nose is going to be a little bit of an issue. So I don't want to completely cut it off, but I can take out the inside. Cut UV edges. Cut UV edges. And just select those guys and pretty much do the same thing I did to the ear. Just go to shell and then move those off to the side. So that will help a little bit. The jaw is probably going to be an issue. Let's see. Trying to figure out the best sort of way to approach this. I'm going to try cutting just these two edges right here, because I basically want the scalp to kind of fold up. Maybe I'll go ahead and cut these as well, all the way to that little weird triangle or weird quad that I have there. So polygons, cut UV edges. Let's try doing an unfold again. So that worked out a little bit better. Try and keep it symmetric. It probably doesn't matter too much. So that worked out pretty good. I just want to zoom in and make sure I don't have anything overlapping. Like a lot of times in the mouth, things will start to overlap. But that actually works pretty good right out of the box. I am going to have some stretching, but I plan to paint this with like some sort of 3D paint, like in Mudbox or something. So that should like alleviate some of the problems with stretching I'm going to have. If you hit this little button right up here, that will kind of show you how stretched and how squished areas are, so that, you know, like in the red areas, those areas are really squishy or squished together. So I usually want to avoid stuff like that. But with the head, that's something that's really difficult to do, is avoiding that sort of thing. So, but that looks pretty good. Sometimes this weird thing will happen where your model will just go invisible, like it's still there, it just kind of disappears and comes back. That's just like a Maya glitch. Sometimes if it disappears completely, just go in and add your material back to it, and that will fix it. I'm not quite sure why that happens. I think I'm just having a viewport, like a graphic card issue with displaying like things like that stretchy surface, because it will display on the object. Same thing's happening with my 3D grid, just not working for me. Probably need to update my card drivers. And then with this part here, the back of the head, I could go ahead and try unfolding that as well. But ideally, what I want to do here is take that and rejoin it to this part of the head. So I will flip that around, rotate that, align that up a little bit, and then I want to sew these back together. So I can just grab these and this may work, may not work. And then just do a polygons, move and sew, and gonna get a really weird thing like that. So my head for the most part is laid out pretty well. I mean, I could probably go in and make a seam right under the chin and get a little bit better of so that won't be quite so stretched. So maybe I'll go in and do that. So polygons, cut UV edge. And as far as this guy goes up here, I want to smooth that out, but I like what I have in the face so far, so I only want to select the UVs that I want to smooth out. So I'm going to grab my marquee selection, and we'll just grab the UVs above the brow using my lasso tool. And we'll do this is getting a little bit crazy there. You want to be careful with that. There's also a, let's see, there's also a grab UV tool where you can kind of grab things and move them around a little bit. And I think if you hold down shift, if you hold down shift, that's smooth UVs or relax UVs. So that works really well too. So you can kind of start to kind of coerce things where you want them to be, and then hold down shift and just smooth them out. So, and I don't want that to be quite as big. I want that to be a little bit smaller. So you can go in here and shrink that down. And again, we use grab UVs and try to smooth that a little bit. I'm not too worried with it being asymmetrical, because I can always go in and that's pretty much what I'm going to do is mirror it over. So what I can do to ensure that that's going to mirror over okay and not have to worry about any crazy stretching is I can just I'll select these guys right in the center all the way down. And I'll use my alignment tool, kind of align them up. And then I can just select one side. And unfold or grab and smooth. And that'll work. I may even want that to be smaller, but I can do the same thing with like the head area, is I can just kind of come in and select the head. Oops. And I'm going to use, again, I'm going to use my grab tool and just, I can scale that up a little bit. Just rotate that so it's a little more straight. Looks like I wanted to cut these edges as well. Not that one. You know, at this point I can probably just select everything and try just smoothing it out. And then again, you want to zoom in and make sure that nothing is overlapped. And to me, everything looks pretty good. So I think that the head, for the most part, at this point, again, I am going to mirror it over so it's symmetrical. But at this point, the head is pretty good. So I can just kind of set that to the side. Now things like these little nose, and I'll probably have that whenever I get into the inside of the ears, but things like this, again, I'm only concerned with doing one of these. So and we'll probably, just like we've been doing, we'll probably duplicate the right side over, so this side, left side facing us. But things like this, we could try just doing an unfold on this, and that will probably give us something that's good enough to use. But what I can do with this now is just grab it, scale it down, because it's something we're not really going to see very much of, so we don't really need a lot of texture detail there. So I can just scale that down and put it inside the nose. I could probably even reattach it to the nose if I wanted to, but it may cause it may cause some stretching in a way that I don't really want it to stretch. But we can try to size it up in there the best you can. Put it in there. So we can do that with things like the nose. Now with the ear, again, I'm only going to do one of these, so I'll put the one I'm not going to do over here, and the one I am going to do, we'll look at it over here. So let's look at the ear in our 3D view. So we have a front and a back. So right off the bat, I can see that the easiest thing to do is probably going to be to break those apart. And I can probably leave like this top part here attached and kind of have it fold over from the bottom. So I'll do a polygons, cut UV edges, and then I want to cut out that ear hole, because that's just something that's going to cause problems with the unfold or the relax tool, whichever one you're using. And I can probably include that part right there, since that's something that's not really going to be seen. We're never going to be that close to the character to look inside of its ear. or at least for what we're doing. You know, if that's a story, you know, a part of the storyline where maybe like a bug or something flies in your character's ear, then yeah, you need to think about that. But I don't really intend to have anything like that happen here. So I cut that, and then I can just grab that, move that off to the side. I can try just doing an unfold on this, see how it works. Not too bad, actually. I can try using my grab tool again, just so I have access to that smooth tool. And then we'll just kind of place it right here where it would go. In real life, and as far as this guy goes, I could probably just do an unfold and see if I can get it to unfold the way I want it to. Probably not. So let's try cutting a couple of these edges and see if we can get it to cooperate if we do that. Yeah, so see, now it wants to cooperate a little bit better. And again, I can take that, shrink it way down. Not a lot of stuff needed there for that. So I can shrink that way down and just put it over here somewhere where we are not going to see it. So that's the head. Again, I'm not going to worry about the left side. I'll show you in a later video how we duplicate that over and mirror that. So next we will get to the body, and so for the time being I'm just going to take my head and all of its parts and just move it down here, and just so we'll have a starting point, I'm going to move this guy over here. And then, so next video we will UV the body.